Hi, welcome to the step-by-step data analytics tutorial in Excel. In this tutorial, we will be analyzing the sales of various types of insurance. The data set we are going to use for this activity is based on real-life data from a national insurance company. All data has been anonymized to preserve privacy. The main data set contains sales data for 2017. For this tutorial video, we are using a small 24 record data set. For the actual activity, you will be using the full data set, so the answers will be different, but the process will be similar. The insurance types or data in the tutorial may be different from the full data set, but the fields are all the same. For this tutorial on pivot tables and pivot charts, we will be demonstrating using Office 365 Excel for Windows. Other versions of Excel may be slightly different. Also note that there may be many ways of accomplishing the same thing. We are just presenting one way here. Make sure your version of Office 365 is updated. You may not see things the same way if you have not updated recently. Again, please be sure to update your version of Excel before working on this project. Certain features will not work if you are not using the most current version of Excel. Start by opening the Excel workbook. You will be using the Excel file provided to create pivot tables and other data. Step-by-step instructions using the tutorial data set follow for each of the requirements for the assignment. The Excel data file for this project contains multiple worksheets. One of them contains sales data including region, state, salesperson, insurance type, and so on. That is your main data sheet. Here in this tutorial, it is called main, but the main data sheet might be called data or main data or something similar. Just make note of the worksheet name in your data set and substitute that name wherever I use main in this tutorial. The first requirement is to find and correct errors in the region and insurance type fields. Click on any cell in the main worksheet. On the Insert ribbon in Excel, across the top of the window, click on Pivot Table. Accept the defaults to insert the pivot table in the workbook. Before going any further, right-click the Worksheet tab and rename it as Requirement 1. Next, we will populate the pivot table. In the Pivot Table Fields panel, drag Region down to the Rows box and Sales down to the Values box. You now have a pivot table. Examine the list of regions to find any error. Here we see that one of the regions is misspelled. Remember that this is a small tutorial data set. In the real data set, there may be multiple different errors. Now we want to correct the original data set for the spelling error. Click on the Main tab to go back to the original data. In the Home ribbon, click on Find and Select. Type the incorrect term in the Find What box and the correct spelling in the Replace With box. Click on Replace All. Now we need to refresh the pivot table data to reflect the corrections. Go back to the Requirement 1 worksheet, right-click within the pivot table data, and select Refresh. You can see that the incorrect region term is no longer present in the data set. By the way, if the Pivot Table Fields panel ever disappears, you can bring it back by clicking anywhere in the pivot table you created. Now repeat the process for the insurance type field. Drag region back up to the main box and drag insurance type down to the rows box. Review the list of insurance types to find the error. Correct those errors by the following process we just used to correct the errors in region. Once the errors are corrected and the pivot table is refreshed, we can see that the incorrect insurance types are no longer present in the data set. For the second requirement, we need to analyze insurance sales by state. The first thing we have to do for requirement 2 is to insert a pivot table using the same steps used for requirement 1. Click any cell in the main worksheet. In the Insert ribbon, click on Pivot Table, and then click on OK, accepting the defaults. Right-click the Worksheet Name tab and rename it as Requirement 2. Next, drag State in the Pivot Table Fields panel down to the Rows box and Sales down to the Values box. Now we have a pivot table. Click on a cell in the State Sales data, right-click, and then sort from largest to smallest. Next, drag Sales down to the Values box 2 more times. In the Values box, click to the arrow next to the second Sales field, which probably shows as Sum of Sales 2, and select Value Field Settings. In the Summarize Value field by box that appears, select Average. Next, return to the Values box. Click the arrow next to the third Sales field, probably showing as Sum of Sales 3, and select Value Field Settings. In the Summarize Value field by box, select Count and click OK. Next, select the numbers in the Sum of Sales column. Right-click and select Value Field Settings. Next, click on Number Format. Select the accounting format with 2 decimal places and click OK. Repeat the last few steps to format the numbers in the Average column as accounting format with 2 decimal places. Next up is Requirement 3, which is to analyze average insurance sales by state. We are going to start this requirement by copying the worksheet that we just created as our starting point. Right-click the Worksheet tab for the Requirement 2 worksheet that we just created and select Move or Copy. Click on Create a Copy and then click OK. In this new worksheet you just copied, right-click the Worksheet tab and rename it Requirement 3. Click in a cell in the Average column, right-click and select Sort Largest to Smallest. Now the Requirement 3 worksheet is sorted by average sales. Next up, we will be analyzing insurance sales by region. The first thing we have to do for Requirement 4 is to insert a pivot table using the same steps used for Requirement 1. Click any cell in the main worksheet. In the Insert ribbon, click on Pivot Table and then click on OK, accepting the defaults. Rename this new worksheet Requirement 4 by right-clicking the Worksheet tab for it and selecting Rename. Now drag Region in the Pivot Table Fields panel down to the Rows box and Sales down to the Values box. Right-click a cell in the Sales column and sort the data from largest to smallest. Now we see the sorted list. The next requirement has us analyze insurance sales by salesperson within each region. Now right-click the Worksheet tab for the Requirement 4 worksheet that we just created and select Move or Copy. Select Create a Copy and click OK. Next, right-click the Worksheet tab and rename the worksheet Requirement 5. Next, in the Pivot Table Fields panel, drag the Salesperson field down to the Rows box, placing it below the Region field. Next, right-click in a cell in the Sales column next to a salesperson, select Sort, then sort largest to smallest. Be sure you are in a cell next to a salesperson when you do the sort, or the sort may not be as you expect. Select the numbers in the Sales column, right-click, and select Value Field Settings. Next, select Number Format, then Accounting Format with 2 decimal places. The data is now sorted within each region by salesperson. For Requirement 6, we'll be analyzing insurance sales by type and region now. The first thing we have to do for Requirement 6 is to insert a pivot table using the same steps used for Requirement 1. Click any cell in the main worksheet. In the Insert ribbon, click on Pivot Table and then click on OK, accepting the defaults. Right-click the new Worksheet tab and rename the worksheet Requirement 6. Drag Region in the Pivot Table Fields panel down to the Rows box, Insurance Type down to the Columns box, and Sales down to the Values box. Select the numbers in the Auto column. Right-click and select Value Field Settings. Select Number Format and then Accounting Format with 2 decimal places. Click OK. Repeat for each of the remaining insurance types. Click on a cell in the pivot table. In the Insert ribbon, click on Pivot Chart and select Column, Clustered Column, and click OK. Click on the box that holds the chart and move it so that it is no longer covering the data. Now we can see both the data and the same data graphed. In this last requirement, we will create a map chart that shows total sales for each state. Start by creating a new worksheet. Insert a new worksheet by right-clicking a worksheet tab and click Insert. Select Worksheet and click OK. Right-click the new worksheet tab and rename it as Requirement 7. Go to the main worksheet, select the States column, right-click, and select Copy. Go back to the Requirement 7 worksheet, select column A, right-click, and select Paste. Repeat the copy and paste process with the country column in the main worksheet and then the sales column in the main worksheet. Click on the C column heading, the cell with the C in it, and click on the $sign in the home ribbon. The Requirement 7 worksheet should contain 3 columns: State, Country, and Sales. Select the data for the map chart, including information from all 3 columns. On the Insert ribbon, click on Maps, select Field Map, and then click OK. Click on the chart title and change it to Insurance Sales by State. Now you can see the sales of insurance by state graphically. That's it. We have reached the end of this tutorial. This video was created and narrated by Dr. Wendy Tietz. Have a great day.